Now that it's been revealed that Marvel Tokon will only have 20 playable fighters on launch, and we already know 11 of them, I wanted to take my brief Marvel knowledge and try to guess as to what the complete roster will end up looking like. Now, in the trailer, they showed 5 teams, each with a different character as, I guess, the leader, or however they're going to announce the teams. And the first team that got announced was Storm's team, being the X-Men based team, and that team was Storm, Wolverine, Danger, and Magic. That might be all the X-Men we end up getting on the base roster, which will be pretty disappointing, in my opinion. The second team's captain seems to be Captain America, the third team, Spider-Man, the fourth team, Ghost Rider, and the fifth team is Doctor Doom. We'll get to those in a moment. First, I want to go ahead and mention, in the newest trailer, at the beginning when they were teasing the story mode, or whatever that's going to be, they showed a couple characters. There was this woman in purple, who is apparently Deathbird. I've never heard of her. There was this snot green guy that had one of his arms cut off. People were suggesting that might have been Hulk, but to me it's the wrong color, green. My personal guess is that was Abomination. I could be wrong about that as well. And there was another character getting, I think, choked, and that was a character named Gladiator. I don't think any of those characters will be on the main roster. I think they were just used as fan service. I think they were just for a lot of the old Marvel heads to say, hey, I recognize that guy, or woman. But I do think one of the characters they showed there will actually end up being on the roster. And that was the guy who was doing the choking, whose skin is like a grayish, silverish color. Apparently that's a character named The Champion. Now personally I've never heard of him, but apparently his belt is also featured in one of the backgrounds of the stages, of one of the stages. So I'm guessing that's going to be the plot, is he's just going to pit everybody against each other in these huge team battles or something like that, some kind of excuse to fight. And of course I did not recognize any of this. This is all thanks to Rufelmonger for pointing this out. Shoutouts to him. But yeah, as I was saying with the roster, the teams each seem to have a captain that they're going to show. When they do the trailers for each team, they're going to show the team captain and then a couple characters. And of course it's a 4v4 fighting game, so there's going to be 4 characters on that team. Before this trailer, we already knew 8 characters, so that means some of the trailers may only have 1 to 2 characters being announced for the first time. Like, take for example, Captain America's team, which is my guess for the Avengers team. I think that's what they're going to go with Cap's team. Of course, you have Captain America, you have Iron Man, and I honestly think they're going to include Ms. Marvel in that team. And this kind of does leave out a couple characters that are more core to the Avengers, but I think that's where Ms. Marvel is going to actually be placed. So that leaves only 1 slot for this team for a new character we haven't seen yet, and my guess for that character is going to be the Incredible Hulk. I don't think you can do a Marvel fighting game without one of the most iconic brawler characters. I mean, he's perfect for a fighting game, because all he really does is punch, from what I understand. He'd be perfect for a fighting game. And of course, Hulk, the Incredible Hulk, is one of the most iconic and important characters in all of Marvel, so it would be incredibly stupid not to have him as a member of the base roster. Next up, we have Spider-Man's team, and I don't think we're going to get Spider-Man variants. Unfortunately or fortunately, depends on who you ask. I think we're going to get characters related to Spider-Man in some sort of way, and I think we're going to get a lot of actual Spider-Man villains. Villains, or those characters that are kind of morally gray at times. And one of those characters that kind of fit that description is Black Cat. Now, honestly, that probably wouldn't be my first choice, but this game does seem like it wants to hit some of those deeper cuts, and I don't think Black Cat's that deep of a cut, but still, she's a little bit more niche than someone who you would expect, so that's why I think she probably will be on the Spider-Man team. And I think she would be willing to work with Spider-Man. Next up, we have a pretty obvious pick for Spider-Man's team. That's got to be Venom. I mean, I think Venom's a lock for this roster. He's got to be there. He's just one of those characters. Almost like the Hulk, he just has to be there. Venom is one of the most popular and coolest characters, and I would argue the most famous Spider-Man villain. But I also think Eddie Brock, or whatever his name was, would definitely work with Spider-Man. And here's the fourth one. You could argue for a couple characters. You could argue for Doc Ock. You could argue for Mysterio. I don't know, Kraven might be able to somehow work with him. But my personal pick and guess is the Green Goblin, because as far as I know, Norman Osborn sometimes he's not actually even that evil. It's just a mask. So you could argue for any of the other Spider-Man villains, or maybe I'm wrong about it not being any Spider-Man variants. Maybe that's Miles Morales, maybe it's Spider-Gwen, or maybe it's one of the other 50 Spider-Man variants I don't know about. But yeah, that is my personal guess, is that it will be Green Goblin. And next we have Ghost Rider's team, and this is the team I labeled in my notes for recording this as IDFK. I don't frickin' know, because I highly doubt they're going to do 3 Ghost Rider characters, or like from Ghost Rider movies or comics or anything. And also there's Star-Lord. and he doesn't have his own team, and I don't think he'd be on Doctor Doom's team if I'm being honest. So I put him in here just because I really don't know what they would do with Team Ghost Rider. I don't think this team's going to have much synergy, mainly because I don't imagine him doing like the one guy that, I can't even remember the villain's name, to be honest, from one of the Ghost Rider movies. I love the Ghost Rider movies, don't get me wrong. Probably these are some of the only Marvel movies I've ever seen is Ghost Rider, and the actual third member of this team, Blade. Don't know why, I just feel like he's going to be here, and this would be the team to slot him in. That's probably a little personal bias talking. I do want to make this a predictions, not a wish list. I think Blade definitely should be in the game. Will he? Probably one of my least confident picks, but this is the team I don't know, so I really don't know. And another character I don't really know where they would fit, but I definitely see them in the game. That's Captain Marvel. I think she would absolutely be a character on this roster. Again, I don't know where else she would fit unless you could argue Team Avengers, but I think that would probably make a lot of people mad, her making the cut over Hulk. And still, personally, I do think Miss Marvel is a member of the Avengers in this game. So yeah, this is the team. It's just the most random thrown together team just to hit a lot of characters that I don't know where else they would go. Yeah, that's probably the most loose team. I don't really understand why they're working together. And then we have the final team for this tiny roster. That's Doctor Doom's team, which I'm gonna guess is all villains. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, one of the characters that was kind of teased in the story teaser that they did at the beginning of the trailer was the character named the Champion. I think that's who they teased. That's who Rufelmonger said. And it looked like him, so I'm inclined to agree. Yeah, I think the Champion will probably be on his team if he's a playable character. I think fighting game bosses, the main villain should always be playable on the roster, and I absolutely hate when they do that, to where they're unplayable. Next for villains, it's got to be Magneto. I mean, come on. You can't have a Marvel fighting game without Magneto. He's always been good. He's always been relevant throughout Marvel vs. Capcom 2, 3. I have no idea about Infinite because I've barely ever seen the game, but yeah, Magneto's way too popular, especially in Marvel fighting games. And if he were to miss the roster, I think that would be sort of a, how do you say? A failure to research the market, because Magneto's always been very prevalent in Marvel fighting games, and especially, so I think that tradition should stay. And that leaves only one more spot on the villains. Now, I thought about a couple. I thought maybe Thanos, but I think they would definitely save him for DLC. There's plenty of villains you can think of, but what I'm gonna guess, and it kind of synergetic with Magneto actually, is Ember Frost. I think she definitely rose a lot in popularity since Marvel Rivals, and I think she's just definitely, it seems like a type of character they would go for this game, and of course the loose connection with Magneto and stuff. This is also one of my least confident picks. I'm not quite sure why I feel this way, but I just think she definitely would probably fit this game's roster. And yeah, that is my picks for the base roster predictions, but I think the DLC discussion is actually more interesting, because then we're not really limited to just the captains we have already been shown. Of course, the DLC is 4 characters in Season 1, and here's a team that definitely should have been on the base roster. It's the Fantastic Four. Mr. Fantastic, Invisible Woman, Human Torch, and The Thing. I don't understand how you have a 4v4 Marvel fighting game without the most iconic foursome, quartet, whatever it's called, without the most iconic group of 4 characters, I'd argue, in fiction. Just everybody knows the Fantastic Four, and for them not to be in a 4v4 fighting game, it's outrageous. And that's why I probably think they're most likely to be the DLC characters. Maybe I'm wrong on the members. Maybe you could swap out, I don't know, Mr. Fantastic or the Human Torch for Silver Surfer. I think that could also be a possibility to keep it a little interesting. But I do have some less conventional picks for DLC, like a bunch of characters from Asgard. You have Loki, you have Hela, and of course Thor, which I didn't even mention Thor in the base roster, so, because I think he might miss the cut. He's one of those characters that should absolutely be there, but I personally, in my list, I don't really see a spot for him. I'd like to be proven wrong, but I don't think I am. I don't really see where Thor would fit in. But yeah, we have the Asgard team of Loki, Hela, Thor, and this might be a bit of a reach. Valkyrie, I think that's how you pronounce that name. Yeah, he's also from Asgard. If they wanted to do a theme for just Asgard, I guess that's what they could go with. That'd be my guess. And then, of course, you have Guardians of the Galaxy, which we already have Star-Lord without the Guardians, so that's a bit of an odd choice, if you ask me. It's certainly a decision to not have one of the most iconic groups in modern Marvel and only have one member. Doesn't quite make sense to me, but what do I know? I'm just a guy. I'm not a big company. I've done no market research or nothing like that. But still, the Guardians of the Galaxy, you have infinite members. You could do a couple seasons, honestly, out of them. You have Groot, you have Mantis, you have Drax, you have Rocket Raccoon, you have Adam Warlock, you have Gamora, and you have Nebula. There's plenty of characters to pull from, and I think they also should have at least had 4 of them in this game, because, especially nowadays, one of the more popular groups in all of Marvel. This would be more of a personal pick, because I think the X-Men are a lot cooler than the rest of Marvel, and these are the 4 I would pick. You could argue for so many more because there's a lot of X-Men out there, but this would be my picks. Gambit, Rogue, Cyclops, and for a little bit of a niche pick, Jubilee. I know she's not that niche, but I think that's who they would probably go with because this game likes to do some a little bit niche and some iconic characters and some more niche is what they seem to be going for. And that would be my pick for the new X-Men team. And now you have, if they just were to do non-standard teams, you have characters like Daredevil, Deadpool, Winter Soldier, Taskmaster, Ant-Man, Scarlet Witch, Thanos, Zaza, no, that's not her name, Black Widow. You have Doctor Strange, I could go on for hours, man. There's just so many characters they could pull from for this game, and it's kind of a shame that they're only limited to a roster of 20. And if this is the format, 4 characters per year, and they have made a statement that they're going to support this game for 10 years, the final roster will only be 60 characters. Honestly, for 10 years, I don't think 60 characters will be that big of a roster, especially with the, I forgot to mention Moon Knight as a personal pick, but I doubt he's making the game. But yeah, 60 characters after 10 years, it still feels like not enough for Marvel. There are just way too many characters, way too much source material to go through. If you can't tell, I'm a little disappointed in the roster size, but that's my predictions for the Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls base roster and Season 1 of DLC. Like I said, I do think the DLC will most likely be the Fantastic Four, but I may be wrong, who knows. Yeah, that about does it. That's all I can really think of. Let me know down in the comments if you agree with me, if you disagree. And I gotta ask, are you personally upset that it's only 20 characters, or do you feel it's enough? I feel like 2XKO has really cut down people's expectations a lot, so I've seen more people actually be okay with it, which is kind of surprising to me, because I really don't feel like it's enough. Definitely not enough personally, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Let me know down in the comments, and have a good day. Have a good day, have a good night, have a good whatever.
You're cooked, Bob.